everything's good. I'm glad there's still an hour of it left to do something exciting and somewhat more relaxing than hectic morning I had. What about you?
I am usually resetting to Pacific time around noon so I can do more morning stuff.
That's right. I love your whole I'm actually on Hawaiian time, so I love that.
That gets that's like a mentality thing. Just trying to get
Yeah,
more work done, more hours in the day. Yeah, 3 a.m. is midnight in California, so
very true. It's necessary. We need it. So, what are we getting into today for our viewers? What are we doing?
we are talking about business funding.
Yes, and podcast number 7. It's been a great series so far. I hope that everyone who's watching this has been able to see the other ones and can catch up to where we are. It wasn't chronological or anything, but just, seeing the other topics that we've spoken about. So, yeah, business funding options is what we are getting into today. So I was thinking we could do this in 2 parts. The first part discussing for those who are really just getting started or maybe only had their idea and haven't actually gotten started yet, onset funding. So the money that's going to go into helping you get off the ground if you're just at the idea stage, or money that helps you get off the ground if you're ready to start. And then part 2, after we go through those ideas that we want to present to you guys, uh, growth funding. So you've already gotten off the ground, you've already started, maybe even have some clients, and you need to grow. You want to add a team, you just want to bring in more clientele, you need help with marketing, you need money for all of these things. And that is your growth funding to help you expand on what you've already started building. So let's get into it.
Awesome. I think it's extremely important to talk about funding and how to organize your business. You need to be able to have a plan, a budget, and things like
Yeah.
that. And so, as you were saying, when we're talking about this first part, you're starting out with your business, for example, you definitely need to figure out where you are, where you stand, where you're planning to go. So you need to have that mindset and organization, Excel sheets,
Mhm.
figure out where you're spending the most money and how much your product or service is going to cost. Do projections 3 months, 6 months, a year in advance or quarterly. You want to forecast. I think that is the correct word, forecasting.
Forecasting, yes, definitely. But if we haven't even gotten to the point of creating a business plan and we're sort of thinking, as a prospective business owner, entrepreneur, how am I even going to do this? What are some things that we can automatically reach into before because, essentially what you're describing is the foundations of a business plan, which everyone should have in some form or fashion. Yeah, I mean, even if it's just like bullet point ideas, you can go from there. And we talked about this in another podcast where we talked about creating a dream board, a vision board, a notebook, or something where you're just getting your ideas out of your head and onto some visual space where you can look at them and go through them. But if you're maybe just there and you haven't, created a business plan in the detail that Kat was just talking about, or a full-fledged business plan that you would present to, say, a venture capitalist or whoever, and you just have the idea and you're already thinking about the money, I think there's some very baby steps that we can take that I think you and I have even taken before we got to that point. So you want to discuss this?
I think yeah, every so every business owner has that visualization of what they're trying
Yeah.
to figure out and what they want to do with their business. So um what you just described is literally what you should be doing, having a vision board, having some kind of draft or notes in a notebook. I have a bunch, I don't know if you can see, but I have
The
sticky
post-it
notes all over
note.
all over
I
my
love
wall,
those.
surrounded by that. So even if you have notes written
I
down
wish
on
I
that.
had one of those actually. I don't have I should get one, but I hate putting things up on my walls. I'm like a crazy person. I don't like seeing holes in my walls. Like if I take it down and want to move it, totally nuts. But but I do other things. I use OneNote. So I have
Yeah,
electronic versions of what she has, but I really like what she has.
I know Maria actually got me into OneNote more. So
Because
I've been
you're like,
using
heck yeah.
OneNote, and then all the notes up here are just like important to dos right away within
Yeah.
the next week or two. Um, so what we were saying is with the businesses, when you're starting out, get yourself some kind of a description of what your plan is going to be. Have a vision, intention, and make notes of what you need. I mean, what else
Mhm.
can we add there, Maria?
Well, I was thinking as far as, the finances, that of course is going to come into your head. I think when we think of business in general, most people automatically think it's going to cost them a lot to get started.
They do.
There's a difference between starting a service-based business and a product-based business. The overhead for both are going to be different, but there's some very minimal costs that we can actually alleviate or just bring out of our own pocket at a minimal amount before we even start thinking of, oh, I've got to get a loan. I've got to get an investor.
Mhm.
I need to have onset money before I can even get started. Some of these things are, just being smart in what kind of website you choose, the monthly cost of the website. Have you looked at different types of websites? That's going to cut down on your monthly costs. And the initial website that you start out with does not need to be some glorious stellar Fortune 500 looking
Right.
website. It needs to be something that brings people to you, or at the very least gives people all the information they need right away. And that can be a very low cost website that you can already maintain. It would be something that you might spend on coffee per month. So if you take 3 cups of coffee out of your budget and put that towards your website, or maybe, a night out for dinner, that is your website per month.
Let
And
me
the night
just
out for dinner, I mean, it's probably more,
let
so
me
you can
just jump
start
in there.
there.
Right. You were so speaking of the website, right? You don't
Yeah.
even have to initially pay for a website. You can get the website to sponsor you for the time being while you get set up, as long as you have something. So you would have the name of the sponsor of the host website in your URL,
Mhm.
and it would be free. That would be the only deterrent, that it has the host name in there. For
Yeah.
example, Wix. You
And
mentioned
sometimes there
Wix.
are ads that pop up on your actual web
Right.
pages that are
But
third parties that the host
initially
allows. Yeah.
it's worth it, initially just to have something up there is totally fine, because that same website can then be transitioned over to a fully paid website, and they'll just
Right.
take out the ads, they'll take out the host URL name, and you'll be fine. And Wix is not the only one that does
And
that. You got WordPress
right,
as
we
well
all
that
do.
does that. Everybody. Yeah. So
Same thing goes with your emails, like starting with Gmail, and
exactly.
instead of having it connected to your website. These things, depending on what you want to do with the business right away, they may seem unprofessional. So, these are just options. We're just throwing it out there as ways to cut back on funding
Right.
when you're looking for your onset funding. So getting into actually finding your onset funding, doing things like cutting down on things that you might splurge on. Say you look at your monthly budget and you say, I don't splurge on anything. I can only afford to get the bare minimum. Clothes that I absolutely have to replace, and I wear them down until I can't wear them anymore, and then I go get new clothes. Groceries that I absolutely like, I only get what I need. If you are living at the bare minimum and you have nothing more that you're spending excess amounts on, then what you want to look at is if there's a way to take a part-time job, or if you're working a full-time job and you absolutely can't work any more than that because you're putting your time into this business that you want to start, maybe you want to do like a freelance job. One of your skills that you might be using for the business, go and do it as a freelancer to give yourself experience. Look for opportunities on LinkedIn, on Indeed, jobboard.com, monster.com, where you can get a chunk of change initially. Maybe you do a couple freelance jobs in the area that you want to start your business in, and you do it for maybe a month or two, and you try to get as many, one-time jobs, and you put that money aside. That's in addition to your full-time job if you still have a full-time job. Or if you don't have a job and you're trying to use this business as you starting a job, still go look for those independent jobs, put that money aside, separate it from your budget, and use that as your seed money. as your onset funding. And that's one way where, yes, you're going to have to work a little bit harder. And yes, you might move back your schedule for launching the business, but it'll give you some in-pocket money that is just for the business that you allocate only for what you're getting ready to start. So
And
that's one option.
I
if
want
you're
to
willing to
add,
come up with that.
I want to add to that, because a lot of people forget that when you have your business, when you're trying to start a business, you have to pay yourself. You have to pay
Sorry,
yourself
live
first.
paused.
I'm sorry? Okay.
The Instagram live paused. Technical issues today.
So make sure you pay yourself first. Everybody forgets to do that because they feel like when they're starting their business, everything is going into the business, or maybe you're trying to save up so that you can pay employees. You have to make sure you're managing your business in a way where you can have a salary from it as well. So there's profit coming in to you. Everything that Maria mentioned, as far as the work and the gigs happen, the projects that you might be looking for, that is something that you need to do. It's essential. You need to go out there, and that's how you're going to also build your clientele. You're going to start off with these little projects, and then you're going to grow those projects into bigger jobs and just a whole portfolio of things. It's baby steps, and people forget that it takes several weeks, months to even get anywhere. Usually it takes a year or two to actually see any kind of difference when you first start your company. So it's important to have patience. It's important to surround yourself with people that are knowledgeable about these things. Start a group or join a meetup, meetup.com. I think that
is great.
yeah.
Well,
So
during the pandemic, I think that some of that has gone online, but as we're
yeah, it's
opening
even
up,
better
yes,
online
we go
then.
back to Meetup. Yeah, you can do it online. And speaking of online options, you can also do GoFundMe pages and angel investment pages. You can do Google searches and compare different ones that are out there, but some of the ones that I'm personally familiar with, and I think Kat also has some ideas on this, the ones I'm familiar with are Republic and GoFundMe. So you can go to those websites and basically you're pitching your idea, but a lot of people pitch their idea and they haven't gotten started yet. They're just pitching their idea to see if people are interested in giving them angel funding. And angel funding or angel investments are monies that you don't have to give back. They're monies that are given to you as donations, strictly, pretty much charity, someone's belief in your idea, belief in what can become of it, versus venture capitalism, where there's the expectation for a return on their investment, or they have some proprietary clause in your company, or they're a shareholder, or they're actively involved in your business as a venture capitalist. An angel investor could be your parent or your sibling or your spouse or a complete stranger that reads about your potential idea or your startup idea on these websites, GoFundMe or Republic. Do you have any other ideas or
Well,
other suggestions for websites like that?
I was going to compare your venture capitalist to Shark Tank. So
Yeah.
if you go on Shark Tank and pitch your idea to Shark Tank, those are venture capitalists, and they're going to ask for, if they like your idea, they're going to give you money for it, and then they're going to ask for a percentage back, perpetuity, for example, which will be something you pay them back forever. So it depends on the route you want to go. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say those, that brings us into competitions, which I would say is definitely something that falls more so in the growth funding part of this podcast, because you do want to show that you've prepared for these competitions. Competitions take work in any field, and Shark Tank is definitely one of them. But aside from, the clause that you will owe part of what you've received as investment money, it is worthwhile, because if you're accepted, it costs you nothing to go on and do your elevator pitch and prove yourself to the panel of judges that are there. But
there's
if you make it, there's steep competition. There are other smaller competitions out there that are similar to Shark Tank that could prepare you for something like Shark Tank.
Yes, there are so many out there. And of course, Shark Tank has a long waiting list for people to get onto
Yeah.
that show. So have
Yes.
patience with that one. But
Mhm.
there are smaller competitions, and a lot of them are actually also in the government. For example, the Department of Commerce has a program called Select USA, and Select USA has an investment summit that they do every single year. So they recently, in the past year or two, created a program for tech companies. So they call them Select USA Tech Companies, and they do a Select USA Tech Company competition, which includes the pitching to investors. And that is something that is done on an international scale. And people benefit from this because they meet a bunch of investors, they have a judging competition, and then they can expand their business once they actually win this competition. So it's very beneficial to brand new startup tech companies. I would definitely look that up on the Department of Commerce website. You can go to selectusa.gov for that one.
Nice.
And also you mentioned crowdfunding, and I would say Kickstarter would be a good option for that as well. If you have an idea, like you're pitching to an angel investor, like you were saying, you can use Kickstarter to do the same thing and get donations from people because they believe in your idea. So it's not just one angel investor, it's a bunch of
Mhm.
people that are trying to grow your business with you.
I personally haven't used Kickstarter, so I'm not as familiar with them as I am with Republic. But so for Kickstarter, just for those watching this podcast, how established do you need to be to pitch your idea on Kickstarter? Do you know what the requirements are? Is it something where you can, just be at the idea stage, or do you need to be a little bit
I
further
think
down the
it
road?
I think it depends on how motivated you are and how much
Okay.
effort you're going to put into the entire idea. If you're very motivated, if you believe in your idea, because it's all about how much you believe and how much you're trying to actually promote this product or service that you're trying to do. And that's going to resonate across the platform into your marketing. It's going to get to people's minds and hearts, that's where you want to go with this. And if you're not motivated, it's not going to go anywhere. If you're not going to have dedication, time, anything putting into it, nothing's going to happen. You might get 5, 10, $20, right? 200, and that's it. So you actually have to be committed, actually be proactive, do work on your website, reach out to the people that are signing up on this platform and communicate with them, give them updates. This is a constant update type of platform. See what you're doing so that they know that their money is going to a good cause and you're not ripping them off, right? No one wants to be ripped off. Does that make
Sure.
sense?
Yeah, definitely. So for all of you out there that are looking for more than one option, definitely go to Kickstarter, go to Republic, go to GoFundMe, and just give yourself your own drive. Take it little by little. All of this is going to take a lot of work and dedication. So just take it one step at a time, but don't give up. Look at the steps, look at what it's going to require, and just tackle it. Maybe you do one step every day or multiple steps a day, but you plan it out so that you can get it done in a reasonable amount of time and not feel burnt out or overwhelmed. But it's doable.
I'm
Cat
sorry, my
chatter.
my battery, my battery
Oh,
unplugged.
oh,
Oh my
it's
gosh.
Friday, guys. It's like it's TGIF, and
It's, what
our
did you say in the
computers are
beginning?
on Friday.
Frantic Friday.
Frantic Fridays. It has been a frantic Friday. Yeah, our computers are feeling it too. They're like, it's Friday for us. All right, so I think that pretty much covers the first part. That's onset funding. So, you haven't really done much. Your business isn't really growing yet. You're just getting started. But say you're at the growth phase. You've gotten a few clients. You don't have to have many clients to be at the growth phase, but once you have business coming in, it's time to grow that. So once you have business coming into your startup, you're no longer in the idea phase. You might still be tuning things up and working some things out, fleshing out future ideas, but you're now in the growth phase. You want to bring in more business. You want to grow your team. We spoke about that in the last podcast. At this stage, you want to be thinking about who you have working with you or for you, and building on that. So that requires money too when you really want to get serious about growing. So there's some things that have come up during the pandemic that we're going to touch on first that are, they have urgency because the deadline for some of them is coming up. But those are some of the easiest ones to get information and access to because they are generally on one main website. So we're going to get into that next. And then we're going to break it down into other ideas that may or may not be for you, depending on the type of business you're doing, what your goals are, your background, etc. So we're just going to go through them and take from it what you can. But if you can, hit all of them, like I said, step by step. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the first one, SBA, SBA.gov. During the pandemic, all of us have heard about the PPP loans. President Biden extended the deadline for small businesses to apply for PPP loans, meaning you had to have established yourself in 2020, not 2021, unless they've changed that. So just read up on that. But as far as I know, it's in 2020. And the deadline for that loan application is May 31st. Start with your bank. At this stage, you should already have a bank account designated for your business. If you don't, you need to do that first before you can apply for the PPP loan. So start with your
So I
bank.
just want to make sure that you guys know the acronyms. So SBA stands for Small Business Administration, and PPP is the Payment Protection Program.
Yes, thank you, Kat. So once you go through your bank, there is nothing wrong with going through other banks. Some banks may not accept outside clients applying for the PPP loan, but most will allow you to apply through their bank. So you just need to double check that. Every bank has their specifications and requirements listed on the website. If you've already applied for a PPP loan, you can apply again. But I know for this round, they are really trying to target small business owners who have not applied or received a PPP loan yet. So May 31st, 2021, midnight is the final deadline. So if you haven't at least tried to put in an application, go for it. There's no harm done.
Yeah, there's nothing to
Also,
lose. Like you'll
yeah,
be where you are right now if they don't accept it. So nothing to
exactly. And the
lose.
same for the EIDL grants. If you have not applied for an EIDL grant, do that as well. Worst case scenario, they tell you no. Best case scenario, you have some extra growth funding. And there are some requirements as to what you can and cannot do. We're not going to go into all the specifics because that would take up too much time. We want to get to the other points that we have for potential growth funding options for you. So the main requirement is that you're using it for business growth and you're using it for payroll. So if you have people who are working for you or you have contractors, people who you would probably pay more than $600 to, resulting in issuing them a 1099 come end of tax year, that counts as part of your payroll. So contractors or direct employees, anyone you're giving a 1099 to, W-9, W-2, W-4, they qualify as part of the monies that you would need from this PPP loan or the EIDL advance to receive that to help you grow your business, to help sustain you. So while we're still working through the pandemic, definitely go out there and try to take advantage of that. And like we said, worst case scenario, they'd say no, but at least you tried it. And sometimes, we don't know what's coming in the future. They may roll it back and say, okay, we have another round. And people who didn't receive it before, we still have your application on file, such as with the EIDL loan. I know that they are now giving monies to people who didn't receive it before. They're giving them money now because they had their application on file. So just because they say no doesn't mean that there isn't going to be a program in the future. And all of that information is available on one website. It's really nicely consolidated, sba.gov. Unlike the other options we have, there are multiple websites, but this one you can just go to one place and get all the information that we just gave you quickly in more detail. Everything's there. It's pretty easy to read. And they also have numbers where you can speak to someone on the phone. So that's great if you need some extra information. All right,
SBA is an amazing organization. Select USA, for example, I've worked really closely with. So they at their investment summit, they actually have the representatives from SBA come, and you can freely ask them questions. You can set up a meeting with them. You could do a virtual face-to-face, which I think is amazing because they rarely do that, and so they only do that like during this investment summit. So I'm just letting you know there's opportunities to go in there with them. To mention, outside of SBA, there are opportunities to join associations, for example, and they are related to small business works, for like the National Association for the Self-Employed. Have you heard of that, Maria?
I haven't. What is that?
So the National Association for the Self-Employed is a membership organization that a small business can join, which assists small businesses in various different things that they might need to help with, advertising, marketing, hiring employees. They give you guidelines, they give you suggestions, and they recommend different companies that might be able to help you as well. They award members of this association up to $4,000 to just get started with some business expenses initially.
Wow.
So I think it's a great opportunity. My point in sharing this is that there's a lot of companies and businesses and associations out there that are giving out free money, and people they don't know that these groups exist. So
Yes, I didn't know this group existed.
so it's important to get out there and do research and try to become members of certain organizations or associations so that you can take the benefits that those associations offer. And we'll post the links to some of these after this podcast.
Definitely. And so with this specific organization, is it a membership fee based organization? Do you need to be accepted in it based on qualifications? How does it work?
There's
Can
an
anyone
annual,
join?
so you have to obviously be a small business, and there's an annual membership and an application fee application you have to apply with, and then you have a small fee, but the small fee is a small fee, nothing like in the thousands, it's a regular small fee to become a member.
Okay. So then we also have next the Small Business Innovation Program, and we also have fintech funding options that we want to talk about. So
Ooh, fintech.
yes. So starting with the Small Business Innovation Program, Kat, can you tell us a little bit about that?
The Small Business Innovation Program. Hold on. Sorry, like I lost my note. Okay, the small business.
We did our research on this for you guys because we knew that there were way more options out there than what we personally have even
Yeah,
used.
you can't just blurt the stuff out of your head. You actually have to provide information here. But the Small Business Innovation Research Program is one of the federal grant programs that is offered with the Small Business Administration, which I just
So back to
realized.
SBA.gov.
Yes.
Is that on their website or is it a separate website?
It is a separate link. It's
Okay, sorry, guys. It's
sbir.gov.
separate.
No,
Okay.
but it's sponsored by the Small Business Administration. The website is sbir.gov.
Okay.
And actually, when you get on there, like the logo says America's Seed Fund. And that's something that you mentioned.
That's encouraging. Yes, seed fund. So that sounds like we could bring that back into our first phase. That could be onset funding for potential startups and people who are just in their idea phase, right? Or do you need to? Okay, so that's what it sounds like to me. I'm definitely going to go check it out. And all of these ideas, I think a lot of them can still be revisited. Even if you feel like you've gone through a lot of these, you can revisit them because, especially during the pandemic, a lot more resources have, out of great necessity, have come up and people have expanded on them. And I also think that, as far as planning for these things, when you're looking at grants like this, you want to look first at money that you don't have to pay back, and then look at money that has some collateral, either ownership in your business through a venture capitalist, or money that you have to pay a portion of, or the whole thing back, like a loan. So look at these grants first, because grant is free money as long as you qualify.
It is, and a lot of these grants are provided in the form of a judging type of competition in a way. So you're providing a proposal and your idea, and then you go against a bunch of other companies. So you want to make sure that you put your best foot forward and go out there. The SBIR and STTR programs with the Small Business Innovation Research. So under the Small Business Administration. I'm sorry, there's a lot of words here, but So the STTR stands for Small Business Technology Transfer. So we have the Innovation Research and Technology Transfer. Those are two programs that are being sponsored with the Small Business Administration. And they are all about research and development with potential commercialization. So it's a very competitive award-based program. It enables small businesses to explore their technological potential and provide the incentive to profit from its commercialization. So I think this is an excellent opportunity. And honestly, it's not been advertised. And I work with the government a lot. And like, honestly, when I was doing some of the research here, this was like the first time I found this. So I think a lot of people could benefit with it and submit their proposals here. So that's just one of those types of programs. What else we got, Maria?
Well, we have collaborations. So outside of just going and doing research and applying for something directly, if you have already established some form of clientele, you can go to them. So I think there are ways where you can collaborate, and that can be a source of growth for you, not only in word of mouth and getting more clients, which happens with me all the time. I get other clients through previous clients or current clients that refer me to other people by word of mouth, just off of the reputation of my work, which is great. So you want to make sure that you establish that with any client that you get to the best of your ability. That will definitely happen, but you can also directly reach out to them and see if you can establish some kind of partnership or collaboration that will benefit you in some way. So an example of that might be if and of course, all of this is relative to what you're doing, but this is just one example. If you are someone who has helped someone with their website in some form or fashion, and they own a website distribution program, or they own a marketing company, or they own anything that can help you in your advertising, you can do perhaps some kind of barter system or some partnership where you receive a discount. A lot of times social media is doing this, where you get sponsorships and you get discounts for X, Y, and Z, or they offer you free items in exchange for you posting stuff. You can do the same thing directly through your business by working with clients who have something that you need, and you also have something that they need. And so you help each other in exchange. It doesn't mean that you won't get paid. You do want to make sure that you're getting paid from it in some form or fashion. If it's a direct trade where you're not getting paid monetarily, but you're getting a service or a product in return from them, that's one option. You can also still work out another option where you're getting paid, you're able to invoice them for whatever service or product you provide them, and they are able to give you something in return. And so it becomes half payment, half service or product provision. And you can work out those deals by just having an open conversation with your client if you think that that's something they might be amenable to. And again, worst case scenario, they'll say no. Don't be afraid of doing that. Just jump at it. If you see a potential, really understand who you're working with first. Know the person that you're going to before you ask. Make sure you're going to the right person in the company. And if you don't have access to the right person in the company that you want to potentially do this partnership or collaboration with, reach out to the person you do have access to and see if you can work your way up to the right person you should speak with. You never know what kind of partnership can come out of that. A lot of lucrative mergers have happened. A lot of great partnerships have happened that started in that same fashion, a simple discussion via email, an idea, a conversation in person. So that's an option that you can do when you're in the growth stage because you've already established a business working relationship with them.
Yeah, I think that's great. People don't realize that that's an actual option.
Mhm.
Sorry, my screen froze. There's a lot of companies that work together and have the collaborations in the world that I work in with contracting, for example, with the government and the private companies. They have, when they're bidding for contracts, for example, they have the prime and then they have subcontractors. So you can actually, if you're in that service world of providing contract support, you can add yourself as a supporting company onto a prime contract as a subcontractor. which will give you the opportunity to have the past experience on certain contracts and be able to have that income that you need. So it's very helpful. It's something to look into. It's also something that's talked about with the Small Business Administration, and you can check out how to get all of the information on contracting there and what you need to do. So sba.gov, go there for everything. It's our we should be like sponsored. SBA, if you're watching, sponsor us.
Yes.
That's
Give us our
awesome.
certifications.
I did want to jump back to something that you said earlier with the fintech funding options.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not sure if we fully covered that. So I don't know if everybody knows what fintech actually is or what it stands for, because it's not fin as in a shark fin. It's financial technology. So fintech technology lenders are
I have to laugh
institutions.
because I'm pretty sure someone has said that to you, which is why you're saying that.
It always happens.
We're not making fun of you guys. I mean, there's a lot of terms and acronyms floating around nowadays, but it is a little funny the ideas we come up with.
Is that an oceanic program?
These things have been said, and no, they're not. It's not a big fish.
So these are fintech lenders or institutions that provide loans or lines of credit as an alternative to traditional bank or government loans. So there's a lot of lenders out there that can provide services and application requirements and everything like that. And one of them is Kabbage. I don't know if anybody's heard of Kabbage.
I've heard of them. I don't have any experience with them.
So Kabbage would be good for an e-commerce type of business. Where like eBay, Amazon, Kabbage is, if you work with eBay and Amazon, Kabbage would be a great company for you to get funding from.
Okay.
Because they're very flexible. They work with American Express.
Okay, that's good to know. I didn't know that.
It's something very different. There's also On Deck, which is another one of those fintech type of companies. They award loans based on alternative metrics regarding the health of your business. So
what are these alternative metrics? How is it different from a regular funding source like a bank?
Well, since I do not work for On Deck, I do not have all of that on here, but the website is ondeck.com. And so when you go in there, you can click and get started, obviously, and it's going to give you an overview of financing options that On Deck provides. So it's,
some of these
again,
we just found ourselves are new to us too. And I just
to the point of
on the spot with that. Sorry.
No. So the point of this is that they are fintech programs. So again, they are alternatives to traditional bank loans. So the process is going to be similar to what you would see if you were applying at a traditional bank. But when you go in there, it's going through a private company, which is a fintech company. So they're specifically looking at different things that you do in your organization that relates to technology, for example. So that's where they have a better understanding of your company than a regular bank might. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So PayPal is another one of those.
Oh, PayPal. Okay. Well, and PayPal is super like new age fintech. I mean, they were at the start of the whole fintech era.
Yeah, PayPal forever.
I love PayPal. So I wanted to bring up one option that is a little bit more traditional, unlike some of the more 2021 options that are becoming more popular for a lot of people who are already familiar with fintech and looking for options in that area. Goldman Sachs, they definitely qualify as a fintech funding source, but they are, known as a bank, as an investment bank. And in some ways, people consider them more old school, but in a lot of ways, they are right there and staying current with the likes of Cabbage, On Deck, Republic, Kickstarter, and PayPal in their own way. And so the most recent thing that they have done is they are rolling out a grant program for small businesses this year. So there aren't a whole lot of details on it. Stay on their website, try to get notice updates, try to apply, try to put in your email. For interest, try to follow them on LinkedIn, follow their social media on Twitter, and learn all you can about it as they're rolling that program out. It's a huge step for Goldman Sachs. It's something that I believe happened specifically because of the pandemic. I don't know if they were planning to roll this out before the pandemic started, but what I do know is that they made a big announcement about it, and 2021 is going to be a big year of them reaching out to the community, specifically to small businesses. So that is a huge opportunity for a major bank to be offering themselves up as a fintech funding source option for startups and small businesses that qualify. So I think that's huge.
Yes, and I have the link to that for you. So Maria will, I know Maria will add that in later. Which will be
Yes, we'll
awesome.
give you so what links are we providing? We're giving you the link to SBA.gov. We're giving you the link to Small Business Innovation, the Small Business Innovation website. We're giving you the link to Goldman Sachs.
The National Association of the Self-Employed,
National
that one as
Association of
well.
Self-Employed. So on our YouTube pages, the links won't be active, but they'll be in the description box. And the same thing for this Instagram Live, we'll put them under the description box when we post it on our feed. But if you go to LinkedIn, those links will be live and you can just click right on them.
That's amazing. There are so if we're listening to this podcast ourselves as guests here, for example, I feel like it's very informative because it makes you think to go out there and actually do some research, because I didn't know Goldman Sachs had that program. I had no idea. And when I went on there, I was like, okay, they have opportunities even for students here, which is amazing. So
I wonder if Bloomberg is going to do something similar now that Goldman Sachs is rolling it. It was in headlines in certain financial publications for a little while, but then the news of it kind of got quiet, I think, as they were moving through the phase of rolling it out. And definitely that's such a huge step for them. I'm sure that it's taking a lot of effort and time and work on their part to even get that started and announce it. And I'm sure they want it to be a huge kickoff. So we may not hear a whole lot about it, in the next month or so, but I'm sure as soon as they're ready to roll it out, it's going to be a big push for all small businesses to be part of that, anyone who qualifies. So, I mean, these are, like Kat said, it's really good to take in this information and just keep doing your research. I mean, things are happening all the time and we're constantly being put in situations we didn't expect to be put in, but it should be, rather than being overwhelming or being a deterrent, use it as an opportunity to find out more, find out if there's something new out there for you, because there always is.
There's tons of opportunities and tons of money out there. You just have to be able to apply and put the effort in. It's not just clicking a button and saying, oh yeah, I want to sign up for this opportunity, and you put in your name and your email and just press submit. No, you actually have to do the work. You have to submit a whole application. You have to submit examples, proposal, anything that they're really asking for. Maybe some of them are requiring a product sample or a video of whatever it is that you're doing, but in the long run it's all worth it because it's going to bring attention to your business. You can actually advertise the fact that you received an award or money from Goldman Sachs, Goldman Sachs.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
I think it's very important.
Work with you then.
Right. There's a contractors guild that you can also apply to get recognized as well, and they have awards for contracting companies, and you get recognized that way. So it's kind of like getting an Academy Award prestige, this goes for all of these organizations that are helping. It's kind of like getting that Academy Award. It's recognition, and you can make sure you list that on your website that you did all of this work and you were recognized for it, you're awarded for it. So there's loans, there's programs, kind of like business scholarships, I would say. That's the translation of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And you just put that up on your website and show everybody, hey, I did the hard work, I was there. And yeah, anything else you wanted to add on that? Because I wanted to go back a little bit to the first part.
Okay, yeah, no, let's go back. I think we've covered both parts in as much depth as we can in this given period of time. We could go on about all these things. We say that all the time in all of our podcasts. We could go on and on for hours, but we really just want to give you truncated information where you can just glean as much of the basic ideas that you can and get some resources and tips. And Kat's going to talk a little bit more, but then we're going to give you guys a little preview of what we're going to discuss next week. So
Awesome. So when we were talking about the first part of the onset funding, we missed a key word that a lot of companies are, a lot of new business owners are probably hearing, and it's called bootstrapping. So
that's a big one.
bootstrapping. So that the definition of that itself is just it's building your company from the ground up with nothing but your personal savings, or like what you were saying, Maria, working with what you're getting from your full-time job, and praying for luck, holding the rabbit's foot and walking around doing everything possible to bring that luck to you.
Yes, that is your luck. Oprah Winfrey says that, luck is just preparation.
So and that is a good point. Yeah. And so the summary of bootstrapping is just, it's a business that an entrepreneur has with little or no outside cash coming in when you're launching. So there's no support. And so when you hear this, that's what it's called, bootstrapping. You're not getting those lattes. You're not paying for expensive internet, for example. You're not paying for an office space. You're using public spaces to do your business. And so just, that's why I wanted to bring you back to it, because initially it's important to definitely try to save some of that money and figure out what you're going to do. But this phase does not last long. Once you start getting the clients in, once you start working on those gigs and jobs, you end up bringing in business from the outside, and you can progress to other parts of your business, growing it. But bootstrapping, that's a key term in the beginning.
And on that note, speaking of bootstrapping, there are ways where you can bootstrap and do your networking and do your team building at the same time. Kat mentioned not paying for an office space, but there are ways where, like she mentioned, you can work in public spaces, and we all know them as co-working spaces. They have them all around the world. Although now people are mostly working from home, they are coming back, especially in major cities where people are getting vaccinated. That's going to become an option that you can use as a resource. That being because they have incubator programs in a lot of these co-working spaces. And it may seem like, oh, I don't want to work in a public space with people. And there may be all kinds of reasons not to do it. But when you're starting a new idea on your own and you need to stick with like-minded people or people who are of the same drive or looking for the same thing, going to a co-working space and introducing yourself to a few people or even the owners or managers of the space can be huge. These incubator programs do not always mean that you have to put money into them. Sometimes just like a grant or any other competition or any other association, you have to qualify to be part of it. And it may be as simple as having an idea that sounds plausible, having a plan of some sort that you've laid out for yourself. And these incubator programs are there to literally incubate you to better health as a business. So you can also be part of these incubator programs if you're in the second phase that we talked about, which is your growth funding phase. So whether you're in the onset funding phase or the growth phase of your business or your idea, or just starting out as a contractor, you want to be a freelancer, whatever it may be, these incubator programs have something to offer, and they speak to exactly what Kat just mentioned. It allows you to bootstrap in a way that's in a collective. And so you want to look in your area and see what's available. And as we are getting vaccinated and we're able to loosen some of the safety measures and be around people in a safe capacity, still socially distancing, check these out. If you live in a major city, even if you don't, I think a lot of cities, especially in the US and in Europe and in Asia, and major cities in the Middle East, and large tech cities in Africa, and also South America, they're making these incubator programs in co-working spaces a huge draw, so that people come there not just to use the space, but also to have like-minded individuals working towards the same goal, whether or not they're doing the same service or product offer. So that's it from my end. Kat, do you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, that was brilliant. Like
Thank you.
people, when people go to these spaces, you meet so many other entrepreneurs, business owners,
Mm,
just starting out, and they're all doing so many different things. And so
yeah,
it's important to just be in that environment.
yeah,
It's very motivating, very educational as well. So
yes.
hopefully you're
Energy is
open-minded and
good
able
for
to
you.
do that. The energy is amazing.
Yes, yes. And it may seem costly, but this would be one of the costs that you do want to set money aside for. Um, I would recommend going through Croissant. There is a trial
Croissants.
offer for that program, getcroissant.com is the website. This will be another link that we add. Getcroissant.com. You can also try coworker.com. So those two websites are websites that I personally use when I'm in this US, specifically New York, when I'm traveling around to other states and definitely abroad. They have carried me into so many different spaces where I met people that I wouldn't have met otherwise, because they wouldn't be at a cafe or they wouldn't be at whatever event I may be going to. They definitely weren't my friends or family. I only met them and got to know them because they were in these spaces. And I have not done a full incubator program, but I participated in part of one, and it's well worth the while. So, just do your research on that, see what's available in your country, in your city, in your area, and jump into that. I mean, you have nothing to lose, and the cost can be minimal. So there's also opportunities to spend what's within your budget, and especially when they have trial offers, you can try it out for a week. And most co-working spaces will invite you in for a tour, talk to you about the incubator program, and give you 5 days, 7 days, maybe even 2 weeks as an incentive to get you to come back and see if that space could be your home for working, not living.
Yeah, they have so many companies that are offering the co-working spaces. Like in DC, we have the
Mhm.
DC Works, Get Works, and there's the Metro office area where they let
Yeah,
you collaborate with everybody.
that's cool.
So that's in my area here, and you have so many others in New York City where everybody's going places besides Starbucks.
Yeah. Starbucks used to be like the co-working spot.
Yeah,
Then
it
it
used to
became the run
be.
in and out spot, the delivery spot. And now Starbucks is delivering. So people are not interested in sitting down at Starbucks. I don't even think most Starbucks have tables in the city anymore. How is it in DC? Over here, they've like moved tables out for most of them.
Oh, well, I mean, the tables are still there. And actually, Starbucks upgraded their tables and chairs. They're leather
Oh, yeah.
chairs now, which is
Oh, nice. Are
amazing.
they indoor or outdoor? Ours are mostly outdoor.
They're
But they have.
indoor. They're
Okay.
indoor, and they're giving me California vibes every time I go in. But you
I
can't
like
sit
it.
there yet. You still
Oh,
can't sit
really?
yet.
Are they like taped off?
Yes, yes. I think
Oh,
they're
that's fun.
starting to open stuff up now, but
Okay.
we'll see.
So we're in an opportunity phase. There's hope. We're slowly rolling things out and then opening things up in all of our major cities. So, these are things to, if you can't go to them yet, read up on it, get the information, because when you do have the opportunity, you'll know right where to go. You know exactly what to do, and you just be on it.
Right. That is
So,
the main point. Research.
yes, research. So next week, we're going to be talking about something that's more personal, more to the heart or to your mind, or to the heart too, because you should be putting your heart into whatever you're doing work-wise. We're going to be talking about knowing your why. Why are you doing this at all? Why this and not something else? Like that?
That's correct. A lot of people start something without knowing why they're doing it. And if you don't know why you're doing it, it could quickly fall apart.
Yeah.
So knowing your why is very important. And there's been a lot of books written on this subject. So tune in next week because we'll have a lot of information. It's
Yeah.
definitely more personal, more inspiring.
Yeah.
It's something to
It'll
listen
be
to.
deep.
Deep.
Yeah.
It's deep.
be very personal. We'll get into why we started our own ventures. And we will, of course, leave an announcement on our Instagram and our LinkedIn pages, letting you guys know what date. We don't have a date set for it yet, but we will get to that, and we can't wait to see you guys there. So thank you for joining us on Instagram Live and on LinkedIn.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maria. You're the best. By the way, before we go, Maria is a total guru. I know she's not an accountant or anything, but she does know so much about finances. So definitely, if you have any questions, Maria is numero uno. Go to her.
Thank you.
Transdermar, Maria.
Thank you. And I have tried to, just do everything that we have spoken about. So we're both giving you this from personal experience. And there are some things that we mentioned that are new, but we're definitely going to be getting off this and looking into all the new things that we found. And Kat has been such an incentivizer and such a motivator. And like I've told you guys before, she was my mentor previously before we started this collaboration together. So you see, that's what we talked about before. You never know what a working relationship can turn into. We didn't know years ago that we would end up partnering like this.
We didn't, and I love it.
No idea.
We work really well together and feed off of each other, I think. So it's brilliant. I love it. And thank you, Maria, for being awesome.
Ideas and push and steps and how to get your business going. That's what Kat's here for. I mean, she will lay it out for you. Even if she doesn't have the answer yet, she will come back with a total thesis on what you need to do from A to Z, and it's foolproof. You can take it to the bank, cash it in.
You're too much. Oh my gosh.
All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your Friday. We're going to get off and go do some more research and reading and put these links up for you. So thank you all for joining us on Instagram Live and LinkedIn.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.